The idea of a town being reborn around a school somehow makes a lot of sense, because a school, of course, is about children and about the birth of life and the birth of ideas. It shouldn't come as a surprise that this would have a dramatic impact on the community around the school.
I'm Terry Beck, and I was involved with the school from the time it started. There was a group of people that got together in 1978 and 79 thinking about what kind of school we wanted for our children. There was a small group of people that had a goat club. There were probably 5 or 6 families in that group. And Dan and Arnold and Susan Johnson became part of that group not because they had goats or were in any way interested in goats, but because we did this funky little newsletter called Goat Droppings. And they were interested in the newsletter, and so they became part of the group that put out the newsletter. And we did that for about 2 or 3 years.
We realized that a few people in the area had kids, and they were not, and they were young, they were preschool age, but they were interested in how they were going to educate their children, because they weren't necessarily ready just to send them off and consign them to the public school. But they said, oh, there's some people getting together, you should meet. And they were having a meeting and they were talking about forming a school, and they were studying pedagogy and they were looking at models for schools, and you know, they were searching at that point. They were studying everything that was out there. They wanted a structure to it. They wanted something that was going to hold together for a while. They didn't want a free school. They were looking at Montessori type schools, and Waldorf schools you know, came up as a topic. And so there was investigation and a study group, probably an informal study group that formed that brought that kind of information around.
Once the committee that was put together to investigate curriculum found Waldorf, then people got really pretty excited about Waldorf education.
Karen Beeson at that point, who's now Philathea, was also at the same time had gone off for teacher training to become a Waldorf teacher.
I was the first teacher of Pleasant Ridge, and I had been teaching at the daycare center in Viroqua for about 8 years. And so I had never heard of Waldorf. Somebody came up with the idea of Waldorf and said, well, let's go visit a Waldorf school.
Karen was a really brilliant person, well known. She was really well liked in the community. A lot of people knew her.
I mean, I think if anybody was sort of central to it all, it was Philathea Beeson. You know, I mean, she really pulled together those early years.
I left the daycare position and went and got Waldorf training.
And then when there was a search for a building, there was a need to have a place for the school. And so we were looking high and low across the countryside for old schoolhouses or old church buildings. I'd heard that the Oddfellows Hall was for sale in town, and I rushed to the group and said, here's the building, here's the building.
And while I was gone that year, the parents found the building, which is what we call the old main building now.
That was it. I mean, they were willing to sell it to us. They saw the value of a school, amazingly enough, and we bought it. And there was a lot of activity around. We cleaned the building up and painted it, and got it ready for school.
For a long time, it was myself and Joanne Keesaw, who was the first kindergarten teacher. There were many times when we had to recombine the grades, and I'd drop back and take the class before. And there was a time when I taught 1st through 4th or 1st through 5th, just to keep the school going. So people had an eye on us, you know, are they going to survive? You know, and just many wonderful things happened where other Waldorf schools, you know, took a collection and sent us money. It was just amazing. You know, there was a lot of support to just keep this little experiment going.